welcome to Wrestle Talk with Jimbo. Once again, we're covering all 4 events this week. Not because I've been tired of Shawn Michaels, but because there's not much to talk about on any of the 4 shows. Sure, we got Backlash coming up on Sunday, but, you know, Backlash is looking to be a terrible pay-per-view anyway. Anyway, let's start off with the 420 episode of Raw. And at least Jeff Hardy had the night off, because I don't think he'd be in any condition to wrestle on 420, if you know what I mean. And I know you do. Druggy, you have no business being in the ring. I'm glad you're retiring soon. Oops, did I just spoil something without warning you that I was going to spoil stuff? Well, my show contains spoilers, and if you don't want spoiled, you need to quit watching my shit. We had Jericho and Steamboat. Enough with that. We had Chavo versus Batista in a squash match. Batista has been an established star for years now. Years. And they still need to show everybody that he's a big tough guy and can win a match just like that. It's garbage. It's terrible. You guys have no idea what you're doing there anymore. WWE, wake up. Wake the fuck up. No, but at least Raw, we had Santino doing his golden comedy. It was great. Because of Santino alone, Raw would get a 10, but the rest of Raw sucked big fat ass, and because of that, it dragged Raw down to a 5. ECW, we've got Hornswoggle. He's been drafted to Raw, which is terrible for his character. I mean, the whole McMahon son thing, the whole Finlay son thing, you know, that works. But you can't have a leprechaun gimmick just there. He wants to wrestle? What? I mean, this is... Who's he gonna wrestle? You gonna throw him in there with the Big Show? I mean, if you had a solid midget division, maybe, but you don't. You don't care anymore. I mean, you put a lot of hype into Max Mini back in the day, but, you know, where's he at? Nobody knows. He doesn't even know. But, back on Hornswoggle, he did get a bite in Natalia's butt, and I gotta admit it, I'm jealous. I'd love to do that. Natalya mentioned that it was Tyson Kidd's destiny to be the best there ever will be. But, you know, that's fine given the gimmick that he was trained at the Hart School. But he wasn't trained by Stu Hart. He wasn't trained by Bret Hart. He wasn't trained by Owen Hart. He wasn't trained by Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He wasn't trained by the British Bulldog. He wasn't trained by Brian Pillman. Why am I listing these names? Because they were successful. Who was Tyson Kidd trained by? The other Harts that aren't successful. Sure, they were in Canada, big stars, woo! But they never made it to the mainstream. They had one pay-per-view match out of necessity for character development for Owen. And if Tyson Kidd, they're really putting a lot of hype on Tyson Kidd, and we'll talk about that in a minute when I discuss superstars. But he's overselling moves, and he's got a terrible finisher. He's not going to go anywhere until they sit back and reimagine him. And the whole little haircut thingy, yeah, that doesn't work for you, Tyson. I'm sorry. Go away. Now, the last match we had was Kozlov. Yeah, I think it was an unknown jobber. I think it was Pauly Shore's little brother, buddy. But it was another pointless squash. You've already established Vladimir Kozlov as a big old tough guy, just like you did with Batista. You put him in a pointless squash match, and nobody cares. I don't care to see Kozlov beat up a jobber. You want to have an impressive squash match? Have him squash somebody big. Have him squash... I don't even know, because there's nobody there that deserves it. I mean, have him squash HBK and do us all a favor. That'd be one thing. I'd appreciate that. But if you want to assert his dominance, he needed to destroy someone like The Undertaker. someone like, as much as I hate to say it, Triple H. Somebody that's that big star that's established. Not an unknown jobber that looked like Pauly Shore. Now back on, no. Oh, no. ECW's getting a 2. I forgot that part. Anyway, 423, Superstars. Let's go back to Tyson Kidd. All the hype on him is pointless if you're going to have him lose in a match to Hornswoggle. Because you can't establish a big star if you're going to have him lose to Hornswoggle. You got nothing against Hornswoggle, but that's not the way to have a rising star get handled. He needs to be doing what you were doing weeks ago, having him be undefeated. This is where you have the squash matches. You have him dominate against the nobodies, and then start dominating the bigger stars. You don't have him lose to Hornswoggle. After this match, we had Finlay singing. I mean, maybe at least they could hook him up with Jillian, and we could get some comedy out of it. But what was the point? It was a waste of TV time. You guys have really screwed over the London fans. I kind of feel sorry for the boys across the pond. You know, they've really gotten some shitty events this week. Superstars had Kofi, which should have made it a 10, but it was a bad match. He was fighting Edge, and they didn't even mention the fact that he's still out for revenge on Edge for costing him the world title match in the Elimination Chamber. Kofi just gets ignored by storyline. Superstars is getting a 2. SmackDown, 424 SmackDown. I want to take a minute to discuss Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy has reinvented his character several times. You know, when they first started out, the Hardys, and they had their plaid outfits, and they were just the jobber losers. They didn't win, everybody beat them up. That's character number 1, the plaid guys. Then they came back as the goth kids with Michael Hayes as their manager. That's gimmick number 2 for the Hardys. Then Lita joins the group and we get Team Extreme. That's gimmick number 3. And that's where Jeff stopped reimagining himself. He was still thinks he's the young Team Extreme Jeff Hardy, and he's garbage and he needs to go away, and I'm so glad he is. But after the Hardys were split up, we got Matt Hardy version 1. That's 4 gimmicks, 4 reinventions for Matt Hardy, and 3 for Jeff Hardy. And we had this past Matt Hardy. It was a step between version 1 and a step between the hill. He was just kind of there. It wasn't successful, but he was Matt Hardy, singles competitor. Jeff, still Team Extreme. Now, Jeff started putting on the makeup, trying to look like the Joker. Why so serious, Jeff? But in the end, he's still Team Extreme Jeff Hardy. He's way back here. Way behind the times. Look, I'm Jeff Hardy, I'm back here, yay. And Matt Hardy's reinvented himself as the Hill now. He's got a new outfit, a new attitude. You know, who reinvented themselves many times and is still around? The Undertaker. Because reinventing your character is what's called staying power. We've seen a couple other stars that have reinvented themselves. John Cena is no longer the prototype. He's no longer the rapper, even though he was a hell of a lot more entertaining when he was. Now he's just a guy wearing shorts, and it's not working. You know, guys like Batista, they need to reinvent themselves because they're garbage, and it doesn't work at all. If you're the same guy forever, people are going to get sick of you. No, I mean, it doesn't always work. Bradshaw had a million gimmicks and it never worked. But he didn't reimagine himself any. He was still just always the cowboy. No matter what gimmick he was, he's just the cowboy. That's all I gotta say about Matt Hardy. Jeff Hardy, you suck. Now, Priceless. Losing Batista and Shane McMahon. Getting their asses handed to him by Shane McMahon again. top hill group, top hill faction. The biggest hills you have in the company. The most hated group. The supposed most hated, that is. What you want them to be. And you just get them, you're throwing them out there like they're jobbers. And that's ridiculous. SmackDown, for the London fans, is a -10. That's all I'm saying about anything. We got Backlash coming up, and I will get the video done on time. Later, bitches.